Welcome to the Sleepy G Show. I'm the host with the most. My name is Gomez, and tonight is another great night here at the show. Also, another St. Mary's High School alumnus, but not class of 99. She's class of 2000 before I graduated, after I graduated, not before. I'm tired, guys, so I apologize. Welcome, my good friend, Jeanette Mackesy. Jeanette, what is going on?
Hello, Gomez. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Well, I gotta say is welcome to the show. And tonight we're actually
Thank you
going to
for
be.
having me.
Oh no, well, thank you for accepting the offer. First of all, um, there's a little story behind that. We'll get into that once we find what we're going to talk about. But as long as I've known you, we were just talking to us right before the show. It's about 25, 26 years we've known each other.
Yep.
We've been friends ever since. Also, she was also my senior prom date, which was also a good night because we were with Paul, Suzanne, and all of them, which was a fun night actually.
Yep. Yep.
And
Very fun.
we've been tight ever since, and we've talked numerous of times, hung out, and now we actually live in the same town, which is kind of funny.
Yep.
So
Yes. Small world.
small,
Coincidental.
very coincidental. She actually lives in the condos that I used to live in Montville, so it's kind of funny. So it's a nice little reverse action there going on. But tonight we're actually going to talk a little bit something serious. You know, we had Steven Diaz, another St. Mary's guy. We talked about his Alpha Fit Club in Verona. We had Angela Bryden with her son Tommy about autism. Now tonight we're going to talk about something that's a little bit serious for both of us, actually. But you have, we'll say it, Jeanette has type 1 diabetes.
Yep.
I have type 2. So this is something that we both do struggle with, but she has more than I do. I take the pills and I take Victoza at night. And you actually do have the insulin pump. And I've seen you on Instagram for God, as long as I've known you too, since Instagram has been on, seeing you change everything. Now, how did you find out how did you find out you had type 1 is the first question.
Sorry. So
Right.
it was December 5th of 1989. So I was in second grade, and I just remember not feeling well that day. Like, I remember being in school, and at lunchtime, we went down to the cafeteria, and I remember just not being able to, like, not hungry enough to eat or anything. Like, I just didn't feel well, went right up to the teacher. And my mom actually taught in my school
Okay,
a day
so
and a half a week then.
mom was
So
there
that
too, which
happened
is
to
good.
be one of the mornings that she was there. So the teacher said, why don't you just go to the office, like take your stuff and go to the office, like maybe your mom didn't leave yet.
Right.
So I went and sat in the office, and that's kind of like what I remember, but like I've pieced more things together from having this conversation with my mom, repeatedly, and even as an adult. One, that teacher vividly remembers that moment still. And my mom then remembers just walking in to the principal's office to sign out, before she left for the day. And there I was sitting on the bench, like crying. So I went home, and they called the doctor, the pediatrician, and kind of explained. And I think they might have even said then, like, oh, we think she might have diabetes, like bring her in the afternoon with a urine sample. Our next door neighbors had babies.
Okay.
So we got a glass baby food jar from them so that we could bring in a urine sample. My dad took me to the doctor. My mom was newly working in town in the schools. Right. So, she didn't feel like she could stay home right away. And at the doctor's office, I guess they tested the urine, and it came back high. The sugar came back high. And then it was like, well, maybe that was a fruit baby, maybe it was a sweet baby food. So like, let's do another test here. Test it again. And that one too must have come back high. Oof. So Yeah, that was one that, and at first the doctor was like, oh, well, this would mean like you're probably in the hospital for about a week because, this was
Yeah.
before insurance kicked you out after 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and at the time, even like I enjoyed school. I mean, I clearly still enjoy school, but enjoyed school. But I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like instead of going to school, I'll like go to the hospital, do what I need to do, and come home. And the
Right.
doctor left the room, and my dad was like, no, this means you're gonna like stay in the hospital. And then like that was when I cried, being like, wait a minute, like what is going on?
Right.
Um, so we all went to and it wasn't, I mean, it was urgent, but it wasn't like, oh, get there now.
Right. Like a day,
Like I
like a
guess
day or
I don't
two.
remember like, well, it was that night, but
Oh,
like
okay.
we had time to like go home and like pull some things together and and go. And I think we all, if I remember correctly, like all four of us went. And then, I was admitted, and like, so that was really my diagnosis though, in Dr. Elkis's office in Kearney, the pediatrician's office.
Wow.
And then spent the week in the hospital learning everything. And, and obviously I felt better once they gave me some insulin,
Yeah.
So like it still was, I mean, I guess it was, but like it wasn't awful because once I started feeling better, I felt better.
Right.
And I was just like in the hospital, we'd go to the kids' room and do the activities and color and, color in the hospital room and,
Yeah.
you know,
And
so.
I gotta say, that's kind of hard because you got it very young, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
like for me, it's a totally different story. I have adult diabetes, so I got it because of, I hate to say the word, being kind of dumb, you know.
Well, there's a lot of things that factor into type 2.
Yeah.
It's not solely based upon
No, but when you think
choices.
yeah, I still blame my choices on that because that's where it got me in trouble.
It
When
can
you,
have an impact for sure, but
it
that's
did.
not the sole
No, no,
reason for it.
it did take a little impact in my life because it was a part of it where my dad passed. A lot of things were
Mm-hmm.
happening. I didn't know how to cope, and eating and drinking a lot of sodas and eating bad foods and drinking bad alcohol, I will say, was a good determining factor for about 6 months. And I found out I was type 2 diabetic, which was kind of hard to swallow. Like, are you kidding me? I'm in
Mm-hmm.
the best shape of my life. I'm coaching football. I'm having fun, and he's like, "No, you have adult diabetes." I'm like, "What?" So
Right.
for me, it was different. I would have metformin.
Mm-hmm.
Started off the first 6 months was like almost 1,000 milligrams at that time because I was so high.
Okay.
It's like he was like, I think my sugar was 500 when I got tested the first time, and he said, "Yeah, that can't be right." I'm like, "Well, I just ate half a pie and a half a 2 liter Coke. Could be that high. You never know." And and that was bad choices again. You know what I mean? I made, but
Mm-hmm.
I suffered the consequences. I'm doing good. Which is good. I'm
Good.
being more active with children now because I feel I'm getting sleep. That's one thing. Um,
Yep.
and people who are married with 2 kids will understand that part. But it's a different lifestyle, especially for you though, because we can get into this a little bit. Um, Jeanette and I, like I said, we both went to St. Mary's. I've known your brother too much longer, actually.
Yep.
I've known
Yep.
Greg since I was
Yep.
like in seventh and eighth grade. Matter of fact, when I went to high school, him and Doug Miller, your brother and Doug Miller, really always like took care of me, let me hung out with the older crowd with them. Like, oh, this is Gomez. He's the cool kid. I'm like, yeah, I am. You know what I mean? And one thing,
Yep.
your brother always did take care of me. You know what I mean? And I always thanked him for that. To this day, I still see him. Like, I still remember when he came in the eighth grade. He had the hair. The one hair I always
Oh yeah. The
he had
90s hair.
the '90s hair with the cut on the
Yep.
side. That's how you know Greg was in the building. He had that perfect line every time. And and I was very lucky to know him. And I tell people, like, when I say I know you, I'm like, I'm very happy to know Jeanette for as long as I have, because true friend and always a big supporter. And for me, I'm a huge
Thank you.
supporter of you and seeing what you do
And I
because
appreciate that.
it's my pleasure because people don't realize how hard it is to be a type 1 diabetic. There's a lot going than just taking an insulin pump and just,
Mm-hmm.
having your insulin. You're still monitoring your glucose levels. You're still doing everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You're monitoring like all day, even right before bed, I bet.
Oh, all the
Um,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you started putting more on Instagram, I noticed, as we've gotten older, and I noticed you started showing how you do it. Now, how did that come about? You just felt like showing people like what you do, or?
Well, yeah, because I've always been an advocate,
Mhm.
ever since I was diagnosed, we got involved with things right away. And that's thanks to my family.
Mhm.
My parents for getting us involved as a family
Right.
in things so early on. Um, so then once, social media became a thing, and once I realized and made connections with people. Like I made the connections with people in person, but was also realizing that there's a whole community online.
Oh yeah.
Like it's called the DOC, it's the Diabetes Online Community. Like, a bunch of my friends on social media have diabetes.
Mhm.
That's literally our only connection, but it's a good enough connection for us.
Right.
Um, and even when you're talking about people with something else,
Mhm.
like people need to be made aware of things, and maybe not so much need to be made aware of things, but it's easy to live only with what we know.
Right.
And it's important to learn about other people. Like actually, I know you were talking about this with Angela too,
Mhm.
like that you don't know what other people are going through.
No.
And social media is an aspect where we can, instead of just simply sharing the highlights of our lives and sharing our meals and sharing whatever we're doing, like, and there's nothing wrong with that either, but there's so much more that we can be sharing. And I know I've learned from other people um, about so much more.
Mhm.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Um, Something popped up on my computer. That like I can learn about so much more about them that I would have no idea if they weren't sharing it on social media.
Mhm.
Whether it's diabetes, whether it's not diabetes, something else is like,
Right.
wow, like my eyes were open to that. So I think about what I learned about other people, and I think it's important that people know. Sometimes I do get hit with like, like these past couple weeks, like wow, I really haven't shared this in a while, or I don't really share this aspect of it.
Mhm.
And there's so many like not really stereotypes, but misunderstandings about diabetes, type 1, type 2, all the bajillion different types, because there's
Yeah.
more than just type 1 and type 2.
No, there
And
is.
there's so many misunderstandings about it that I think it's important for people to realize that, yes, I have all the technology. Yes, I can know what my blood sugar is all the time. And yes, there's a pump to do it for me, but that's not it. Like it
No,
still takes a
there's
lot of work on my part in order to make all of that technology happen
and it takes a
and
lot,
do its
and
job.
exactly, but it just doesn't take a part. It just takes your life too. Like
Yeah, it takes a lot of brain space.
it does, because you're going, did I do this? Did I do that? Like for instance, like tonight, a great example tonight, I have to take my metformin after I'm done because I
Mm-hmm.
was running a little bit behind, but I had to make sure I did right before the show. I was like, all right, let me take the Victoza because that's important. I want to get my
Mm-hmm.
A1Cs down again to under a 6 again. So
Yeah.
it's monitoring how high is my A1Cs? What am I doing wrong? What did I eat? Am I eating good enough? Did I eat enough of this? Did I, you know, uh, uh, I
It,
was
it
on a,
is. It's a constant brain train,
yeah,
like, and that train doesn't stop. It's
but
just a matter of when you like pop into that,
yeah,
but yeah, it's going in all aspects of our lives for both of us. Like,
and it's
what
not,
am I eating? When did I last eat? What am I doing next? Did I take my medicine? Did I take enough? Did I take the right one? Was
you know,
that now or was that this morning? Like, yeah.
and there's days I forget, and I'm gonna be honest with you, like when I'm busy at work, I forget to even eat. Like
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, I didn't eat at all, which is not good. Don't get me wrong, my blood sugar was at 91 at that point, but I was drinking a lot of water, but
Right. It's not good for anyone to not eat.
yeah, but
Not
it's not
even with
good.
diabetes.
I got a little yelled at for that one. Like, yeah, I get
Right.
it, because I should be eating, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's not the
Right.
right thing. Like, I know people do the intermittent fasting and eat light, and listen, I drink my 4 cups of water in the morning. Yes, I drink my cup of coffee with my equal, though, one equal,
Hmm.
and a little milk, just so I get a little,
Yep. Yep.
and but yeah, do a once in a while, do I go to Dunkin' Donuts and get the large French vanilla with the with light and sweet once in a while? Yes, I do.
Hmm.
I will say that. But
Yeah.
that's only a treat, though. E-
Right.
Creating,
And we're human beings.
yeah,
Like, I
can't take a lot
mean,
of those sweets
more for
away.
me, for you, like it's a little bit different. Like that's what I always say to people. Like for me, it's like it's my pancreas that doesn't function properly. Like
Mm,
it's not my taste buds. Like I don't crave things differently than anybody else
no,
does. So sometimes we're human. Like
very human.
we need those things
It was
as
a great,
treats.
it was a great example. Was it like 3 Saturdays ago? We had that pouring rain,
Yep.
and I'm driving down to PA with my family in the car to visit family, and it was by exit 7. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm falling asleep. I gotta stop. Like, I need coffee. And I go, oh, do you want to get like? So I go, no, 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 no. I'm going hardcore. Give me. I went right up there to Dunkin' Donuts and I said, do me a favor. I need a large iced coffee, French vanilla, sugar, no, not the sugar free, sugar, and light and sweet. And of course, I huffed the chocolate donut down too. It wasn't a good idea, but I was hungry on top of it. But
Yeah.
that was the first time in a few weeks that I had something that sweet too, because
Hmm.
I was wide awake after that driving the car down. I
Right.
was wide awake at the party, and I was
Yep.
wide awake getting home, like
Yep.
bug eyed. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let's just go. Like, and the number one for me, my number one factor was sodas, Cokes. You know, before they came out with these lovely Coke Zeros, and this
Right.
is like again now once in a while that I drink that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Once in a while we've had Cokes. Like it's not easy to get away from that because that's like a vice, and it's
Hmm.
hard. It's difficult. Like I'm a soda fiend, and that's one
Right.
reason I just would drink it in the morning, drink it at day, drink it at night, drink it for bed. I drank soda like 24/7.
Right.
Matter of
Like
fact,
water.
if I wake up in the middle of the night when I was a kid, guess what I was drinking? There was soda in the
Soda.
house. Yeah, there was soda in my bedroom,
Right. Right.
especially in high school. But in high school, you and I, we were athletes at that time too.
Yep.
And now
Our
I'm not
bodies
a.
were totally different as
Oh,
teenagers.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, it was kind of funny. Me and Diaz, we were talking about that, and you know, I could eat half a pie and and I could run a mile at the football field without any problems. Then
Right.
I can, and then sometimes I go out to dinner with the team, and there we are at Wendy's grabbing a couple of cheeseburgers, and we're like, "Wow, we're really doing this?" Like,
Right.
you know,
No, now, now I eat, I mean, and I don't eat like extremely healthy, but yeah, like now I eat like fast food or something. And, for like days, I'm like, oh, why did I do that?
you know what? That's a funny thing. Fortunately, my wife and I, and I'll say it, we fell into a little spell because we've been so busy, we haven't cooked as much, and
Hmm.
fast
Hmm.
food's
Oh,
the
I
way
don't
to
cook
go.
much.
We do, because with the 2 kids, we're not eating enough veggies.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have to eat more, and that's including me. The only thing I will not eat is cauliflower or lima beans, or no, Brussels sprouts.
Okay. I've been trying to get into Brussels sprouts. I've been trying to, because like I don't love the flavor,
Oh God, no! But
but I know they're so good for you. But they're really good. Like I like them like really well done. So I don't know if they're still as healthy that way, but
probably
like
not.
olive oil, Parmesan cheese, roast them. They're really good.
And yeah, and then you throw a little bacon on top, and it's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I did just see something recently, like an Instagram reel or something recently. Um, and but it was about like a salad or something and, like covered in ranch dressing or something like that,
Mm,
and it's like the ranch dressing doesn't undo all the healthy of the salad.
right. And
It
it's
obviously it adds things. It might not be like a healthy meal, but like, you know, so if you'll
it,
start eating Brussels sprouts with that stuff.
I gotta eat more carrots and more fruit, but I gotta be careful with the fruit too because of you eat too much
Right.
strawberry or raspberry, blueberry. Like I remember before this, I used to have them bagged up when I first started, with Laura. I like I like cold fruit and I
Mm-hmm.
love frozen fruit. So I would throw in like a mixture of blueberries, raspberries,
Yeah.
blackberries, and grapes, and just throw them in a little snack bags. Throw
Mm-hmm.
them in, and I try not to eat after 8:30 because it's sometimes you eat dinner at
Okay.
5, you get hungry.
Right.
And of course, now with 2 kids, there's goldfish, there's Oreos, there's Pringles in the house, there's wave chips. And there I am with my bag of peanuts mixed with like a trail mix with the granola, peanuts, white chocolate, and raisins, cranberries, and
Uh-huh. I
all
don't
those.
have kids and I have some of that stuff in my
Yeah,
house sometimes
well,
too.
but you're still a kid at heart. Let's just go that way. But it's like, oh God, I want an Oreo. Like I would go and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I'll have two. Like I have to literally control myself. And when it comes to
Yeah.
Girl Scout cookie time, yeah, that's probably my hardest because thin mints are those
Yeah.
are one of my vices, thin mints. And it's difficult.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, they're so good.
I know they're addicting.
In the fridge.
Freezer. Hmm.
Well, yeah, either
Yeah.
or.
Either or, I prefer the frozen. Even if they're frozen, they still taste really good.
Yes.
And that's the thing that as growing up, for you, as a child though, growing up, it had to be a huge, I wouldn't say not, I'm not gonna say a burden, but huge learn for you guys, especially for your brother. Because at that
Mm-hmm.
time, the technology that we have now wasn't
Yeah.
there. Matter of fact,
No,
actually,
not at all.
even in '99, when we went to the
I didn't
city,
have anything yet.
no, you actually had. I remember
Nope.
because your brother and your dad told me, make sure at this point she has her. I'm like, not a problem. And I remember you still had your little satchel
Yep.
with everything you
Yep.
needed. And I
With my
remember,
syringes and with,
yes,
yep.
and I do
Yep. I
remember
went
that.
on the pump November of 99, like November of my senior year is
Okay,
when
so
I went on my first insulin pump.
okay, that's when I was already long gone. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
I was coaching at St. Mary's at that point.
Oh, there you go.
So, and I remember that because, again, like I said, I had a great friendship with your brother, and he always looked out for you and always looked out for me. So, he's like,
Mm.
he was actually thrilled when he knew I was taking you to the prom. Actually, he was
Yeah.
like, "Ah, you're a good guy." I'm like, "I know, but if I did anything dumb, you're gonna hear me." He goes, "Oh yeah, don't forget, I know everybody." I'm like, "Yes, I know." I
Yep.
go,
He and Doug and all
and
of those,
Augie, I can continue with
all
the
those
list.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, but he
Yep.
knew. Even your dad knew. I mean, like they knew I was
Yeah.
there. Just we were there to have a good time,
Right.
and and that's one thing I always
Yep.
laughed about because we always had fun, and we always laughed, you and I. Even
Oh,
if it
yeah.
was during computer class, it was like, hey, what are you doing? I'm in class. Oh, computer? Yeah. How do you know? Because you're on Instagram, or I'm sorry, AOL
No,
Instant
yeah.
Messenger. AOL
Instant
Instant
messenger.
Messenger. We always had that. And I remember Candy Stand. Computer class.
Yep.
Your computer class was a total joke. No one did
It's
anything.
so weird to think now that my students sit there with individual Chromebooks on their desks that they carry with them from class to
Oh,
class,
I
that
know.
we had a class to learn all about computers and all about the internet and have pen pals in Spanish or whatever
Oh
it
my God, I remember
was.
that. And Burger King
So
drives us,
weird.
and they can just go to Burger King to see Mr. JG too.
Yep.
Those are the
Yep.
times. And
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I'll say this, I mean, as you've grown up too, and as you're an awesome adult teacher now, it's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, she'll be a teacher up there somewhere. You know what I mean? You do a lot with actually the shirt you're wearing.
Yes.
Uh, I can't even speak. Sorry, that's how tired I am. JDRF, and
Yeah.
that's something we're going to talk about a little bit because something I've noticed you've been doing the last couple of years is you're Your bike rides now. How did that come involved?
So again, talking about my family, kind of getting us involved in things right away, right after I was diagnosed. So I was diagnosed December of 89, November, I think, of 1990, we did our first walk they were then JDF. They weren't JDRF then, they were
Okay.
JDF. And actually the walkathon was inside Livingston Mall.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's how like small it was.
I can see
And
why too.
then like they expanded to some different locations. Like we walked at Giralda Farm several times, and then they were going to do one at Liberty State Park
Hmm.
to have a Hudson County walk. And my parents were all over that. They volunteered and became logistics chairs and everything. And that was way back when, probably mid-90s.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was actually, I do
Early
remember that.
90s, mid-90s. Yeah,
Even
right.
when
Because
you were
I
in high school.
participated through high school with, I mean, I have some pictures of the soccer team there
Yes.
and all. So yeah, so we're talking mid-90s that started there.
And that was a hard part for football players because they couldn't attend because we had
Yes.
games and we were getting ready.
It was a Saturday
Church.
morning.
Yeah, we were at church trying to eat
Yes.
breakfast. So for the football players who actually wanted to go, couldn't go.
Yes.
That was probably one
Yes.
of them because I said, let's go. You know what I mean? But we couldn't because of,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Coach
but it was a
Sheridan wouldn't be too
Saturday in the
happy.
fall. No. No.
Especially when championships.
Yeah, well, right, exactly. Those practices and games and everything were worth it for you guys.
Yeah.
Um so that became the thing. Like we had Jeanette's team, and that was a thing for over 30 years. Jeanette's team was a thing. It was actually last year was the first year that there was a walk that I was not able to make it to.
Wow.
So going back then to so my first ride was in 2017.
Okay.
So going back to a couple years before that, I do have a good friend and like local in-person friend who coincidentally has diabetes.
Okay.
Like we, like we're not friends because of the diabetes. We would have been friends coincidentally. We
Right.
both have diabetes. And like he would do the rides. And then these people that I became friends with at some of the conferences I've gone to, I would see on social media, they were doing the rides all across the country. And I can remember some Saturdays, thinking like, looking at them on social media and seeing their posts like, oh, we're getting ready to ride 100 miles or whatever, and then they would be like, oh, rest stop number 1 and we're 13 miles in. And I'm like, cool. I watched a couple shows on TV, like I didn't leave my couch, and here they are like, oh, here's 26 miles in,
Right.
and that's kind of like, so I was intrigued by that. But I always had reasons why I wasn't doing it. Because they're in different parts of the country, and it was like, well, it's hard to fly if they're in the fall. Some of them were in the fall, and as a teacher, it's hard to take multiple days off around a weekend and in the fall. Like it's the beginning of the school year, so it's hard for me to fly somewhere and have it be, because it's like they're like a weekend event, so they're like fun. And then in 2017, when it's coming time for them to open registration in January, it turns out there's a Saratoga Springs location in New York.
In New York. I was about to say
which is like a 2.5 hour drive,
right?
3 hours maybe tops,
depending on traffic.
And but I was like, well, there goes my excuse of having to fly somewhere. And like I felt like my excuses were gone. Like I didn't have any reason why I wasn't doing it. So in January of 2017, I registered right away. Because they told me it was going to sell out because it was a new location, like, and people are going to, fill up all the spots. So I signed up in January. I didn't own a bike, mind you, in March of 2017. I then went and got fitted for a bike, and I bought a bike and I've been riding ever since.
And you still have that bike to this day.
I do. It's actually at the bike shop. I need to pick it up, but yes.
Oh, okay. If I know, you're probably at the bike shop down in by New Road, probably.
That's actually where I bought it from.
Okay.
But now I actually take it over into Lincoln Park.
Oh, okay. Oh, I know which one. I can't think of the name, but I
Mhm.
know which one. That's actually
I have Bicycle Tech.
but yeah, that's it. Actually, I
Yep.
have to get my bike out. I haven't touched that thing since I rode it before COVID. And
Okay.
I want to start taking Isabella out for bike rides. And I
Yep.
always loved riding my bike. That was my means of
Mm-hmm.
transportation as a kid. It was
Yep.
if it wasn't a bike, it was rollerblades for me. Um,
Okay.
I used to rollerblade to school to same areas when I lived in Rutherford.
Yep.
So there's times I would have my football bag and my backpack for school on my back, rollerblading to school. And then I remember Mr. Trent going, "Why are you wearing rollerblades?" I'm like, "Because that's how I got to school." Oh, like, yeah, not the greatest idea. But, I had to get to school somehow before I got a license,
Right.
you know.
Right. Exactly.
Um, and that's one thing I saw and I always loved when you posted up because I know you got a ride coming up this year.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah. So it's a
and
new location for me for this year.
okay.
Because Saratoga Springs is no longer a location. They
Ooh,
moved the Saratoga Springs location, yeah, actually back to Burlington, Vermont. Apparently, it was there before it went to Saratoga. Um, so it's in Burlington, Vermont.
ooh,
Another flat place.
5 hours, 6. Yeah.
Yeah, and hills, mountains, the whole thing. I definitely didn't
Yeah.
pick the flattest of routes to ride.
No, you did
Um,
not.
but I do have but I do have some family up there, so I figured this would be the year
Oh,
to,
nice.
now that it's moving back up there, you know,
It'd be nice
go
to
up
see
there and
family.
then after yes, exactly. Spend some time with family too, and then maybe in the future I'll pick a different route, one of the other locations that is flat. But I will say the although hills are difficult,
Mm-hmm.
the downfall if you're riding completely flat is that you're pedaling the whole time.
Yeah.
Like at
And
least on a hill, when you go up,
you can
your
stop
legs go to
pedaling.
break going down.
Yeah. Except for
So
their
it's hard to
bird
get up the hill. But once
because
you hit, yeah,
the
burning
burning,
from pedaling up the
oh,
hill.
I'm
But
feeling
then
the
you at least get
burn.
the break.
That's true. I'm already feeling it right now on my thighs and my knee just thinking about it right now.
Thinking
Eh,
about it.
Yeah,
I
but
know. Yeah. It's
uh,
I still need to train for it. I still need to do a lot of training.
and
Luckily I
that's
started spin class, so that's helped.
I was just about to say that because now you're in training mode. I was just about to ask that. So
Hmm.
you already jumped on my question already. So
Sorry.
that's all right, but it's good. Now, when's the race on in Vermont? Vermont. Sorry, I almost said Massachusetts.
Yeah, Vermont. Um, so mine is the weekend of July 27th to the 30th. So the ride would actually be on Saturday, July 29th.
Okay.
But it's a weekend of events. Like there's a dinner Thursday
Mhm.
night. There's a training session Friday morning where they walk through the route. They kind of tell you like, here's what the route is going to look like. Is there anything to be careful of? Because you're just on open roads.
Yeah.
So like they kind of tell you about like the areas that you might be going through, if there's anything they need to warn you about. Like my first ride, they needed to warn us about that they didn't know until they got there, that there were going to be a stretch of 2 miles of the route that was in the process of being paved.
Ew.
So
Whoopsie.
it
That's
had it had been milled
but it
and
was not.
it was dirt and rocks for a
Oh
two
my.
mile stretch and an out and a back. So like you're riding it out
Oh.
and then you have to hit it again when you come back. So like stuff like that comes up in the
Oh.
mandatory safety meeting.
Let's see.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. I'm feeling it in my knees, my thighs, now my back, and my arms because of the
And
road
people
work.
got hit in the face with rocks that were kicked up by other
I
tires
was just
and
about to say that.
you
Were you guys
know
wearing face shields for that? Because
no, but
I
we should have been.
was about to say,
and like then they obviously talked to the construction, the town, to be like, hello,
let's be proactive
we have
here.
this ride with several hundred riders going to be riding through here. So they did the best they could to get it like as rideable. It was not paved. It was nothing close to paved. But like when you're riding and you're riding in a line, if you're towards the back, especially, there's a car coming from behind, like you'll
Yeah,
say car back and you pass it up. So that way everybody knows there's going to be a car passing you on the left hand, on the
right.
side. So we were joking when we were coming back, because now we're coming back through this unpaved area,
Oh,
and there's a steamroller. So we're like, do we say steamroller up ahead? Like, what?
yeah, I would
I
have
don't think
just.
that was, I don't think I was ever taught that when I was, when I was training.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
big yellow
Car
thing
back,
over there.
steamroller up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, and that's
Yeah.
kind of funny because it's like I said, I've followed you on Instagram for such a long time, and I've seen you post pictures of the day when you're there, you know, the dinners that you guys have, and for
Hmm.
me and for me to say I enjoy those pictures that I could see. First of all, your smile on your face, how much fun you guys are having. I'm like, wow, I would love
Yeah.
to do something like that, but again, it's difficult. When you're,
Right. Yes.
like you said, work life. As you're as a school teacher, and I am a dispatcher slash inside sales, it's not easy to leave for a weekend either. You know,
No. Right. Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
difficult because you're like on a Saturday. For me, a Saturday it's a half a day paycheck I miss. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not easy. And then if you lose a Thursday and Friday, you lose 2 days. And then it's hard because some school
Right.
districts are very strict on those
Yeah.
days.
And it's hard when it was in the fall,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh, so now it's the beginning of the school year. I get 3 personal days and I'm using 2 of them in,
In like,
within the first in the first week.
yeah,
But so that was also the perk of Saratoga, was sometimes I was taking off the Friday of like the
right.
first full week of school, but I could leave after school on Thursday and
Mm-hmm.
still make it up there by the dinner Thursday night.
And that's
So I didn't have to take 2 days. I was taking one. Whereas if
right.
I had to fly somewhere, either I would just miss Thursday or even miss part of Friday, and I would travel
Mhm.
then, or, yeah, or I would have to take more time off of
Eh,
work.
Yeah, which is again difficult for both of us. It's not an easy
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah. For a
especially
lot of
you.
people. Yeah, it
Well,
is. It's hard.
you know, um, but I know, and like I know you mentioned before, you've gone to conferences. Now I've seen you in pictures in the conferences. I'm like, wow. I go, this is what they do here. It was like, it was a huge party over there. But it's funny, you've made some awesome people, some awesome
Yeah.
connections throughout.
Yeah.
Like I think you were in Florida one year. I
Yeah.
remember
Several years I've done. Yeah. That's the Friends for Life conference.
conference was a concert.
Um,
Really? Wait a minute.
yeah.
I gotta support more now here.
And that's in Disney.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Just did dig it a little deeper there.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know. But that one can have up to like, I haven't been since COVID, and
Right.
it's funny, I didn't register for any of the things that I normally do this year, and I don't know, I haven't really fully decided yet. But yeah, you're going, like, there's literally thousands of people there,
Hmm. And
between
that's
families, and there's plenty of adults with type 1 that we just go and we just find each other, and then we hang out for a few days at the conference, and then you hang out, and you're literally friends for life.
yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Like for us, like we've been friends, like we said, for over
Right.
26 years. But
Crazy.
before we were known that we both had the same situation with
Hmm.
diabetes, we were friends before that. So we were connected in a different way too. And
Yeah.
that's one thing I love because I have a great friendship with Steven Diaz. I have a great friendship with Angela Bride and Egan. I gotta remember her full last
Hmm.
name. Um, and we were talking the other day, matter of fact, on the phone, and we're just saying
Hmm.
how, like, you were in a public high school, working at a public
Hmm.
high school, and you came from a small Catholic school.
Yep.
And the one thing we were talking about was the connections that we've made in years of us graduating, even though we're both a
Hmm.
year apart. We both graduate that year, 99,
Right.
2000. And here we are 20 some odd years later on this show podcast, and we're talking about this, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
it's like so real because you don't realize how much you've
Yeah.
accomplished.
Yeah. I know.
And
And time flies. And again, even like, if, if someone had told us in the hallways there of St. Mary's, when we would sit there in the mornings,
oh my God.
like, that we, that we'd be doing this we wouldn't even know what this was.
No,
Like
no, definitely
this,
not.
like, you know,
But
this,
the podcasting
the
life,
concept of
yeah.
this is just like, you know, had been mind blowing for the late 90s.
And that was kind of funny how you said that. We were there way before anybody, you, me, your brother. We always met in the same area. It was right in the
Yep.
auditorium where the
Yep.
telephone booth was. No, I wouldn't say the
Yes.
telephone booth.
The,
The
yep.
the mob bell. I got to put coins in the
Yeah.
phone. And it
Yep.
was always,
And again, actually, you can thank Angela for being on Broadway
yeah,
because the year before that, so like my freshman year, my
right.
brother drove she and I, because she and I lived a few blocks away from each other in Kearney.
Oh, nice. I did not
So
know that.
when my brother drove his senior year, my freshman year,
Hmm.
we picked her up. The next year, her family drove and picked me up.
Nice.
And then she was on Broadway the next year.
And you're like, I know her.
So I had to take New Jersey Transit
Back in the
bus.
day.
And
Yeah.
that's why I got there so early, because I chose the earlier bus as opposed to the later bus. That way I always had the later bus as a backup if I needed it. And then that's why I got there so early.
I chose another reason for getting there early. It was called parking. I had the right
Yep.
spot every morning. Get there before the people start parking for the New Jersey Transit bus to go to New
Yeah.
York.
Right.
So that was always a constant fight in our school because we didn't have our own parking lot. That's how small our school was, guys.
Yeah. Yes.
We were a
I know
tiny.
now. Yeah. I teach at a school that has a parking lot, has a senior parking lot that seniors have to share, like they
Oh,
have,
I was about to
two
say.
people to a car.
Mhm.
But, sometimes they get mad at that. And I'm all, I always like, oh, you have no idea. Like we parked on the street.
Yeah,
Like,
and we fought for parking. There was times like
mhm.
everybody knew where I parked, and if anybody took that spot, they knew something would not be the right thing to do. And I remember, I don't remember who parked in my spot. And it was one of my classmates, and I just said, "Dude, you're gonna have to move the car." I was like, "Why?" I go, "That's my spot." Well, I got there before you did. I go, "Do you not understand? That's my spot. I fight for that spot
Well,
every
you
day."
should have gotten there in time then.
I was on time. He beat me by 2 minutes. He was there 3 minutes earlier than me. He knew my
I know, I'm
schedule.
kidding.
No, I know, but
Right.
that's the thing. Even I had a license. I could show up like 2 minutes before school,
Right.
but it's finding the
Yeah.
parking. It's you park two
Yeah.
blocks up or one block down, or I
Yeah.
wanted that spot in the corner right there in front of the steps, and that was my spot. And it
Yeah.
was the best thing because I would when the bell rang, matter of fact, I had Miss Schrank's homeroom right
Okay.
there.
So you're right there.
I'm right there. Throw the bags in the trunk, go right to practice or go right home,
Yep.
wherever at that time.
Right.
So, again, those are so awesome memories, though.
Lots of great memories from St. Mary's.
Oh
Oh
God,
my gosh.
if you listen to the hour and almost 2 hour episode of me and Steven Diaz, we
Which I
talked.
did.
Yeah, well, I know you did. I know a lot of people did
Yeah.
actually. I actually got comments from Jeff Burke, a lot of old St. Mary's guys I haven't talked to in a long time. So to hear
Yeah.
from them was really cool. And he's like, "Oh my God, you guys are cracking me up so hard." I'm like, I go, "Wait, we haven't really gotten scratching the surface. Like I would love to do a St. Mary's football podcast just for one time. Bring back
Right.
some of
Well,
the old
that's even
players."
I too in the beginning was like, I don't know how other people feel listening to this, but like I know all these names. I know all like
Well, it's kind
I
of
know you
funny.
guys hadn't gotten into nitty-gritty yet of your
Oh
conversation, but I was
no,
like, I'm
no,
loving this conversation.
we could have gone
Now,
to a.
people that didn't go to St. Mary's, I don't know if they feel the same way, but
You know what? I even got people telling me, "I'm like, God, this guy, you guys are hilarious." I'm like, matter of fact, one of Steve's coworkers, is actually coming on the show, and she found me and she announced it and she posted. I said, "Hey, thank you so much."
very
Next thing
cool.
I noticed, I got her on the show. So
That's awesome.
it's
Yeah.
it's kind of nice, you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
the thing, and that's what I loved. And there was one thing we were getting into the subject, and I was saying how tight knit we were at St. Mary's.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what class you were. You could be a freshman,
Exactly.
sophomore, junior, or senior. We were all there as one.
Yeah.
You could have been having a bad day. I'm like, hey, what's going on? It's we could sit there on the steps and talk.
Yeah.
There was a couple of teachers you could actually sit in the classroom and just talk to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of guidance counselors I wouldn't talk to, but that's a whole nother subject. But Coach
I did
Sheridan.
listen to your podcast with Steve Diaz, so I
Yes,
know
I
what you're
know.
talking about.
If anybody did not listen, good. But anybody who knows
Sorry.
me, that's all right. Anybody who knows me knows who. Um, you know, uh, Coach Sheridan was always, even though he was the dean of students, the head football coach, but he would actually sit
Mhm.
down and actually listen if you have problems.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh
Matt
yeah.
Stone, another guy, Coach Matt
Mm-hmm.
Stone,
Mm-hmm.
Scott Weaver at that time, Coach Weaver,
Yep.
Coach Venezia, um,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
you know,
And I actually had Coach Galka as
oh,
my counselor
and you had Coach
later on.
Galka, yeah, and
Yeah.
Coach Galka, Sister Inez, Miss
Oh my
Lanny.
gosh, love Sister Inez and Mrs.
I know,
Laney.
to again, me growing up in the St. Mary system though. Don't forget, I went from
Yeah.
kindergarten to high school.
Oh yeah, you did the whole thing.
Yeah, I felt like I was being punished at one point. I really wanted to go to public school because I got tired of wearing the ties.
Uh-huh.
I got tired of wearing the uniform. But when you get into high school,
I would love if there were uniforms now, and if I just knew what I was wearing every day, that would be like amazing. But see, I also went to public elementary school.
yes,
So like
so
to switch over to that wasn't terrible for
no,
me.
no, for me it's the same thing. I still remember what I used to do with my ties: snip, pretend it's tucked in the vest, and that's it.
Yep.
Until you get the varsity letter, and what's the first thing you get? You get two things when you get a letter,
The varsity sweater,
or the jacket.
the
Now,
jacket. I have both still. I still
so
have both actually here. Yeah.
which is kind of funny. I still have my varsity jacket up here. My sweater, my
Yep.
mother still has
Mine.
to this day. My mom kept the sweater. I kept the jacket.
Uh-huh.
The only reason I kept that jacket is I paid for it. So no one. My parents said I was crazy at buying that jacket. I said no, I'm
Uh-huh.
buying it, and I still love it to this day. Still fits perfectly,
Yeah.
actually. I still bust out the '99 football, letter in the back. You know what I mean? It's one of those things you'll
Yeah.
never.
I mean, I haven't worn mine in years, but it's like one of those things I just can't part with.
The only thing yeah, same here. And the only thing I wish I had on that back of that jacket saying state champs. That's all I ever wanted. But I did get a state ring for coaching football though in 2006.
Oh, there you go.
So I did.
There you go.
I didn't know I was getting
You
one
got a
though.
ring.
I got a ring as a coach, which surprised me. I was so surprised about that. I didn't even know I was getting one. I should have known when Lou Paterno was telling me, "Hey, what's your ring size?" I go, "I don't know. I think like a 14." So I never
Could have been a hint.
could have been a hint, but again, I was kind of oblivious because the season ended. I remember running on the field with the coaches and all that stuff when they won, and and I remember actually a couple of the parents go, "Oh, you filmed this for them?" I go, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I work for them." you know, well, yeah, Patterson Catholic was not too fond of me at that time, but it's funny, like all the histories that we have. You know what I mean? And one
Yeah.
thing, and like you said, you have friends that you're connected with the diabetes. I have my friends, but the
Hmm.
connection that you and I have is more. There's a bond between us with this and the friendship that we had since high school. And
Yeah.
I feel like I'm always tight because the first thing I always ask, how's your brother? You know what I mean? Because,
Yep.
it's the always thing that we text,
Yep.
hey, how's Greg doing? Doing good, and
Yep.
and I'm always
Yep.
happy to see him. I see him smiling in all his pictures too when I see him on Facebook, and
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
see that, and
And
now
now he's a new dad.
should have warned him about the sleep, shouldn't I? And you're a new aunt,
Yes, I'm an auntie. Yes.
Auntie Jeanette.
Yeah. Yes, Auntie Jeanette. They're in Massachusetts, so it's Auntie.
Oh, it's auntie. Yeah, you gotta have that
Yeah.
accent.
Yeah.
Like it's not beer, it's
Yeah.
bear. We've gotten corrected one time. We got stuck. My car broke down with a friend of mine in Worcester, but we were yelled at by the tow truck. It's Worcester. I'm like, okay, so it's
Wait.
Worcester. Worcester. He goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm from New Jersey, dude.
Yeah, it's Worcester.
Yeah.
Is how we would say it.
That's how I would say in
Yeah,
New Jersey,
they're
but
in yeah, they're in Gloucester.
oh, good Lord. They in Gloucester. Fishermen from
Yeah.
Gloucester.
Yep.
As long as Greg ain't doing the fisherman thing, we're okay.
He's not. He's still in the construction thing.
Okay, he's still doing construction all these
Yeah.
years. God bless him. Um,
Yep. Yep.
and in Massachusetts, it does have a special home for me because my cousins used to live up there. So I used to go visit them
Mm-hmm.
in Andover, which was 25 minutes outside of
Yep.
Boston. So when
Yep.
I went up
Yep.
there, I
They're
always
about
had,
45 minutes past Boston.
yeah, it's one of those fun times. So, it's always good to have your
Yep.
family. Now that
Yeah.
you're the
Yeah.
only one in state of New Jersey,
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
it's like, wait a minute, my brother's up in Massachusetts, my mom's in Pennsylvania, my parents are in PA.
Fair. Yep.
Damn, I'm the only one that's stuck in New Jersey. But
Yep.
like it like
But
you're
they're all drivable,
yeah,
you know. Greg, I mean, luckily he went to California because that's where he met his wife.
yeah, I
But
remember that.
obviously, Massachusetts is a whole lot better, closer, drivable,
Eh,
as opposed to California. So
6 hour
I'll take it.
flight, 6 hour flight, uncomfortable seats,
Four and a
lousy,
half hour drive. Yeah.
horrible peanuts, and you get to
Yeah.
California, it's like, wow, what a different atmosphere though. I will say that
Oh yeah.
my cousins lived out in San
Oh yeah.
Diego, and I remember I
Mm-hmm.
flew in. It was my first time in a long time since I've been to California, but I never been to San Diego. Go out to fly.
Okay. Beautiful.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And this was at the time I was coming at a crossroads in my life because I really didn't know if I wanted to stay in New Jersey. It's before I met my wife, Laura. This is
Mm-hmm.
literally a year before I met her. And I was thinking about hard leaving New Jersey, leaving everything
Right.
behind, pack up my
Yep.
stuff, just start a new life somewhere else.
Yep.
And I heavily consider San Diego. Now, you fly out to San Diego, you get a rental, you get lost pretty quick. People are nice enough to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the highways are a lot bigger than New Jersey. There's like 6 lanes and there's 3 for carpools. Well, I
Yep.
didn't I didn't know that rule when I flew in. And there I am doing about 80 in the carpool lane, and I get pulled over by a CHP. Of course, growing up, I watched the show Chips back in the day.
Chips.
Yep.
Yep.
And the first thing
Yep.
I
So did
said,
we.
and I said to the officer, I go, "Hey, is Baker and Ponchalola working tonight?" He goes, "You must be from the East Coast." I go, "Yes, I am." He knew pretty
Yeah,
quick
because
without
I'm
even.
sure they hear that all the time,
Yeah,
or did anyway.
yeah. So it was kind of funny. He just said, "Are you lost?" I go, "Yeah, I'm just trying to get here." I'm like, "I guess I'm 2 minutes away." He's like, "Yeah, you take that exit right there." He goes, "But can we tell you something?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "See those three lanes?" I go, "Yeah." I go, "What's so different?" He goes, "Those called the carpool lanes." I'm like, "Dude, I'm from Jersey, so we don't have carpool lanes. It's 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 do 90 or die in the highway." So he
Right.
started he started realizing, all right, I got you. So, but I mean, the funny thing is, we're both Jersey guys, Jersey people. We love New Jersey. Jersey's our home.
Yeah.
But I'll
Yeah.
tell you, the
Absolutely.
atmosphere in San Diego, people were, to me, were just a little bit over nice. You go to a gas station and they close at midnight, and it's like 5 minutes before that the door is locked. I'm like, "Hi, I just flew in. My hotel's down the road. There's nothing open. I just want to grab some sodas. Well, yeah, again, sodas and some
Yeah.
food and bring it to the room." Like, "Oh yeah, not a problem. We're sorry." And like, here. And they were really nice because I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting, oh, I'm expecting Jersey. Like, oh hell no, F bombs drop, this drop, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
and the first thing I said, wow, you people are really nice out here. Go, is this a Twilight Zone? Because you don't expect that. But
Right. Right.
but
Yeah. As a tourist, as a traveler, yeah, it is.
and
San Diego is a special place too.
San Diego's a great place. I was this close to moving there. Very close. But I didn't. I stayed in New Jersey. And I can't say I don't regret it. Happy with
Right.
everything.
Everything turned out perfectly fine.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny, but now we're getting to that point of the show tonight, and we've talked a lot about great things. We talked about
Yeah.
you with the type 1 diabetes, you showing everybody how you do with the insulin pump, and we talked about the bike ride. But now let's really get down to the nitty gritty. Bike ride's coming up in July, and
Yep.
you're going to start doing training, of course, and you're going to be
Yep.
doing fundraising for this, for your
Yes.
team, for you, actually, not your team, you.
Yes.
So let's actually let everybody know what they can do in helping out this year.
Yeah. So, it is obviously a fundraiser, and I have benefited greatly over the years from the research that JDRF has funded. They have funded some of the major things that even the general population knows about, a lot of the technology. There's now commercials for maybe like Dexcom with Nick Jonas, and and Omnipod, there's commercials for, and some of the other, there's a new drug that has been recently approved that has actually been found to help prevent the onset of type 1.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's testing that can be done in like siblings, for example. Like if someone is diagnosed with type 1, there are markers that they can look for and can be tested for. So if they see a marker, for ultimately sometime down the road, possibly being diagnosed with type 1, there's now a drug that has been approved, and I've heard the research from some of the people who have been doing the research themselves on that, and it has delayed the onset of the symptoms of type 1. So, JDRF means so much to me and my family, because then some people say, oh, well, but there's not a cure yet. It's like, no, there's not a cure yet, because diabetes, type 1, type 2, all of everything in between, all the different types, like it's a complicated disease. It's people think like, oh, just don't eat that sweet stuff and you'll be fine. Like, no, that's not how it works.
Right.
And that's why I try to show, like you were asking before, that's why I try to show some of this stuff, because like, it's not as simple as that. It is when you come home absolutely exhausted, but you got 3 units of insulin left in your pump, and that's not going to last you through the night. You can't just plop down in bed and go to sleep. Like, so, I've seen a lot of the progress and have been, a benefit of a lot of the progress and things that JDRF has funded, wearing a Dexcom all the time, knowing my blood sugars on my watch, knowing my blood sugars on my phone to my pump, so that my pump can make some decisions. But I have to tell it what to do still. Like I have to still put in insulin to carb ratios, and I have to put in correction factors. And yes, it's getting smarter, in terms of closing that loop between the two. But there's still a lot that comes from the user, and technology is also man-made. So
yeah, that's another hard part.
like also like last week, like it's not going to be perfect all the time. And sometimes people get super frustrated at the companies when like something malfunctions, but like that happens.
It does.
Everything is going to malfunction. If it's man-made, that's just how it's going to work. Like right? How many times you have to reboot your computer? You have to it's not perfect.
Never.
I woke up last week during the night, 2:40 in the morning, to a malfunction error on my insulin pump. And that meant like nothing else could happen. It was not going to deliver insulin. I could not clear the screen. Luckily, Tandem Diabetes was great. I called them. They're actually based in San Diego, coincidentally.
Okay. Yeah, very coincidentally.
So I call the 800 number and I get through to somebody who was in San Diego. And luckily it was an error that we just had to reset the pump. But kind of, sorry, back to your question.
Right.
What can people do? But I just want people to understand that, like, right. I, although I'm not cured after all these years, like, I am very much reaping the benefits of the research that JDRF does, and has done and has funded. So my link to my page, I guess the easiest way is through Instagram. It'll be in my the link in my bio should take you there. So that's at J Mackesy, Jmackesy. And I was just going to check on, and I think it's also, I was there before, you would think I would know. See, I use my my app. I believe it's, sorry, I'm just checking to see
No
if
worries,
it's
no worries.
jdrfride.org. And then you can search, you can search my name in there too. But again, I'll put, my direct link will be in my Instagram bio. That's a direct link. I always come up with some sort of way to have my donors like ride with me. And I haven't fully decided what I want to do this year. A couple years, people could buy shamrocks and I ironed them onto a tank top that I wore the day of the ride. Yep. You guys did.
Yep.
So I did that for a couple of years.
Yes,
Last year I did, I made like bike bracelets.
Yes, I remember
and
that
you
was
could like
actually
buy
cool.
letters and like spell it out, and they're actually still on my bike, so I put them on my bike so that way when I ride that day and I'm exhausted and I look down, like I'm reminded of the support that I have.
Yep, and that's one thing I love doing is
so I don't
supporting
know
you.
if I'm going to do that again or something else. A lot of people do will write people's names on their legs, will do some other crazy things that might include like dyeing their hair blue, and a friend of mine does that. And if a certain amount of money is raised, and or
Right.
like, so I haven't fully decided. I kind of like the bike bracelet idea, although it was like,
Tedious
it
work.
took work on my part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which again, last year was also the beginning of the school year. So, because the Saratoga ride used to be in September. So it'll be a little bit different with the ride being over the summer. I'll have a little bit more time leading up to it. But there will be something, I don't know if anyone has any great ideas too.
I can't think of
But
one right
there will
now.
be something. I know. I try to think too. Like there will be something that I'll be doing that will be like a way for, donors to like ride with me, because like, again, every donation, $1, $2, $5, $10, $100, $1,000, whatever it is, every single one of those dollars is so meaningful to me. And, everything is so expensive now. So and I understand that. So any amount of money I am like super grateful for.
And
And
that's
again,
why
I have reaped the benefits personally of what JDRF does.
and that's one thing I love to do is definitely I'm a huge supporter. You know that because I've
Yes,
been there
always.
always,
Yes.
and I
Yep, you
want
guys always are great supporters, and I
and
appreciate that.
and we're definitely we'll always be there for you on that one. So I definitely will be in there. But I definitely will, and when the show comes up, we're definitely gonna have the links up there for you
Awesome.
and JDRF on there too. The link for you and where people can find you and help. And I really hope. I'm not sure what the goal was this year. I didn't look at it. It was brief, like a while ago. I know you posted, and I forgot all about it a little bit. But we'll definitely, hopefully, we'll meet your goals this year again, and with the support of
like
everybody.
my goal is like $4,000 or $5,000.
Right, can't go wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good goal, and that's something we should all help with, and that's something I'm going to be supporting with Jeanette and her ride, and I'm hoping everybody else will support her and her ride this year too. It's a great opportunity. It's a great thing that she's doing. She's an awesome person, great friend. She comes from a great family. Luckily I've met her parents. I've known her brother for a long time, so I could say like I've known the whole family for a good, even your brother now, even longer. So
long time.
Long time. So I have a great relationship with you guys, and that's something I always cherish and honor. And as your earbud just fell out, which we just saw.
Yeah. Yes. I don't
Not
wear
to,
them that often, and this is why.
and this is why I have the big headphones on for during
Yeah.
shows, because I lose the AirPods too.
Yeah.
But Jeanette, thank you so much for sharing your story tonight. Uh, raising awareness on type 1, type 2, and other diabetes that they're out in the world today. We are going to be doing another one of these, I hope, in the winter. Hopefully we do something big. If you're doing something big, we definitely want to get involved with you in that and support you again for it. Guys, the link will be on the bio, her bio. You're going to connect it as soon as my link tree goes up. Connect. You'll be on YouTube, every podcast station you could think of. And again, this should be St. Mary's month for me, because
Right.
I've had 3 or 4. This is the 4th one.
Yeah.
First St. Mary's person in my little
Yeah.
catalog. So
Yeah. Thank you for having us and having us be able to share what we're passionate about, because, like I was saying before, everyone has their own, like, we know our own lives, and that tends to be all we know. But we all have something that we're passionate about, or people are diagnosed with something,
right.
what seems like out of the blue, and everybody feels so alone. And that's why I think, advocacy is so important, whether it's diabetes, whether it's autism, whether it's like what Steve for, like, No Limits Cafe, I think it's just so important that people realize that there's a community for them, that
Yeah.
no one is alone. And so thank you for allowing us to come on your platform, and thank you for using your platform to raise awareness in all different facets, because it's so easy to feel alone, even though we're
You're
connected
not.
like we've never been connected before, in the
No.
world with social media. But at the same time, being too connected is sometimes, people still feel so alone, right? And no one's alone. We're not alone.
Definitely not alone. I
So reach
definitely
out.
agree with you. And guys, if you want to talk to her, you could definitely reach her out on Instagram. I want to
Absolutely.
have all her information on there. Make the donation. I'm going to have the link up there too. If you just want to link up, actually, I just did this yesterday with JDRF Metro. I started following them now. I'm going to tag them too, to
Awesome.
show them, just to show the support that we're going to do for them. Just sometimes
Yep.
a small little guy like me in podcasting world can do a lot. So I'm hoping that,
And a simple sharing, like, even if people can't monetarily support, a simple sharing of a social media post is a way that people can be supportive as well. It doesn't have to be monetary.
nope, it goes a long way these days, guys. But like I always say, at the end of the night, I want to say thank you again to Jeanette. Sharing your story with us, it means a lot to me, means a lot to you. It's going to mean a lot to everybody too, to share awareness of diabetes. But we're going to do more serious stuff like this. I got another serious one coming up too, and that's going to be pretty touching a little bit. And we're going to do the right thing. And as much as my show is all about fun and have fun and go wild, but sometimes we got to bring in some serious stuff. And this is some stuff that I want to start. People need to start be aware of. And I gotta thank you again. Thank you to the Mackesy family that's been doing such a great job with all these fundraisers with you. Can't not thank them. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
You gotta thank them for all the love and the support. And again, thank you, Jeanette. And I gotta say, like I always say every night, good night, everybody. But nothing but love, peace, and happiness. See you guys soon.